Technology and Trade: How Paper, Gunpowder, and Compass Reshaped Afro-Eurasian Cultures. Introduction: Technologies diffused across trade networks, altering societies and changing communication, warfare, and navigation. The core focus of this is to identify how these tools spread and examine their cultural consequences across Afro-Eurasia. Trade networks spread not only goods but also technologies, ideas, and cultural practices. Afro-Eurasian networks. Trade routes like the Silk Roads and Indian Ocean networks connected diverse societies, allowing movement of goods, people, and technologies. These routes created urban trading centers and merchant communities that increased technological impact. The essential question: what technologies changed cultures across trade networks through Afro-Eurasia? We will examine the channels of diffusion, local adaptation, and measurable social transformations. Thesis statement: Technologies such as papermaking, gunpowder, and compass navigation transformed Afro-Eurasian societies by spreading knowledge, changing warfare, and expanding maritime exchange. Each technology reshaped institutions, economies, and cultural interactions across regions. Papermaking and printing. The origin of papermaking and printing is from China from around 105 CE during the Han Dynasty. It is associated with Kailan. The materials are bullberry bark, hemp, old rags, and fishing nets. The purpose was to create a cheaper writing material than silk or bamboo. It accidental or intentional. It was an intentional improvement of earlier paper-making methods. It reached Europe around the 1100s to the 1200s through trade networks. Spread and routes. Paper was invented in China during the Han Dynasty around 100 CE. Paper-making spread westward when the Han Dynasty officially opened trade with the West, when the Ottoman Empire closed western trade routes. Paper mills later developed in Baghdad and other Islamic cities. Paper production moved from China along land and maritime routes into Islamic world and Europe, aided by merchants and political contacts. Literacy and education. Paper spread quickly through trade networks and increased the exchange of information and ideas across Afro-Eurasia. Religious and educational institutions expanded, speeding up knowledge transmission and administrative capacity. Religious use and how it was made. Affordable paper allowed for the mass production of religious texts and records, standardizing practices across regions. Libraries and imperial archives expanded, strengthening institutional memory and efficiency through accessible written documentation. Paper was made by harvesting. Old, discarded natural fiber fishing nets, along with hemp rags, buckberry bark, and cloth, were collected. Soaking. The materials were soaked and broken down in water for up to 3 months until the fibers began to rot. Pulping. The paper maker pounded the soaked materials into a soft pulp using wooden tools or rocks. Pulping. The paper maker pounded the soaked materials into a soft pulp using wooden tools or rocks. Molding. A scoop of the fibrous pulp was poured onto a flat mold or screen. Drying. As the water drained through the screen, a thin, matted sheet was left behind, which was then dried in the sunshine, which created paper. The sources are down below from which I got the information. Gunpowder. The origin of gunpowder is from China, from the Tang Dynasty 800s CE. The inventors are Chinese alchemists. The materials are saltpeter, sulfur, and charcoal. The purpose was originally searching for an elixir of immortality. Accidental or intentional. It was an accidental discovery based on the purpose. It reached Europe around the 1200s to 1300s. Diffusion channels. Gunpowder technology spread via trade, military encounters, and Mongol networks, moving from China into Central Asia, the Middle East, and Europe. Gunpowder was first developed in China during the Song dynasty. The Mongol Empire helped spread gunpowder technology across Eurasia. Cannons and firearms later appeared in the Middle East and Europe. Military transformation. The adoption of firearms and cannons overpowered traditional fortifications and cavalry dominance, prompting tactical and structural military reforms. Battlefield deaths increased, speeding up changes in strategies and tactics across states. Political centralization. States that controlled gunpowder production and artillery gained strategic advantage, allowing territorial expansion and stronger military institutions. Centralized armies and bureaucracies grew fast because governments needed to manage the high cost, training, and teaching new weapon systems. The sources are down below. Compass and navigation. The origin is from China. From the Han Dynasty origins, navigation use during Song Dynasty. The materials are lodestone and magnetic needles. The purpose was originally used for divination and direction finding. Divination means the seek for knowledge. Accidental or intentional. It was intentional use of magnetic properties. Reached Europe around the late 1100s to the 1200s. It spread through Indian Ocean trade networks. Maritime adoption. The magnetic compass was adopted by Chinese, Arab, and Indian mariners, improving open sea navigation and travel reliability. Combined with cartography and knowledge exchange, it made navigation safer and extended sailing seasons. Compasses helped merchants travel farther across the Indian Ocean. Trade expansion. Improved navigation, lasted longer, safer oceanic routes, expanding the Indian Ocean trade network and connecting distant markets. Port cities grew fast into diverse commercial centers, increasing amount and diversity of exchanged goods and ideas. Cultural exchange. Maritime connectivity sped up the diffusion of languages, religions, crops, and technologies, adopting blended cultures in coastal trading centers. Social networks of merchants and sailors became a way for continuous multicultural contact. The sources are down below. Primary sources. Marco Polo traveled through Asia, recorded observations about trade and cultural exchange. Ibn Battuta traveled across Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, described trade routes and cultural interactions. Conclusions. Technologies like paper, gunpowder, and the compass reshaped Afro-Eurasian societies by allowing knowledge flow, changing military power, and expanding maritime exchange. Their diffusion through trade networks produced long-term institutional, economic, and cultural transformations that foreshadowed modern globalization.